esteemed panelists, the participants, the respected faculty members and students. Thank you so much for joining us today on this IPR awareness program with universities on patenting for academic institutions with lovely professional university Punjab. It's a great pleasure to to organize this event. To start the event, I would like to invite Mr. Mohammad Nahar Alam, our Joint Director and Head IPR Council. And a brief introduction about Sir. Sir is currently the Joint Director and Head of the IPR Department. Apart from IPR, he's also handling various other councils such as manufacturing, trade, ease of doing business, and MSMEs. So over to you, sir. Kindly address the audience.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, all of you. Thank you so much for giving us opportunity to organize this IPR awareness program. This is a part of a joint activity, SOCM Patent Office and Lovely University. And personally, and Lovely University to, thanks for joining us on this initiative. We have been doing this IPR awareness activities since I think 2015 with Patent Office. And many times we have also interacted lovely professional universities as well related to mobilizing and IPR awareness activity, different manners. This year we are supposed to organize 20 dedicated program for different institutes, startups, MSMEs, and incubation centers. It is a part of to motivate young minds to towards innovations and protection of those innovations. Uh, Today's panelists, thank you so much for joining us, Monica ji, Anita ji, and Vijay bhai, and Deep ji. I won't take too much time as all of are waiting to hear all experts. But before I conclude my statement, we have been doing many activities under IPR councils. One of the activity is IPR awareness program. There are several activities as well, like technical training program we have been doing jointly with Patent Office, and we have few short-term, long-term courses are also going on, and there are some awards are also taking place. Uh, Once again, thank you so much giving me opportunity and ASSOCHAM to organize this IPR awareness program with jointly with Lovely University and Patent Office. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kirti. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful welcome address. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Sakshi Sharma, Professor, Lovely Professional University, to kindly give the welcome address.
IPSL and all the faculty members of LPU family. And along with this, all the children and the students who have joined from being the part of Lovely Professional University. I'm greatly honored to welcome everyone. And I really extend my warm welcome. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to listen to such a great expertise. The people who are being expertised in their field, especially in case of patenting. I think this is going to help all the researchers, especially with this, that how we can file a patent, and with this all of them can extend their research process also. So without wasting any time, I would like to invite all the worthy guests, and I extend my valuable thanks to them. So on behalf of Monica ma'am also, as she's not present right at this moment, but from her side also, I thank everyone, and especially SOCHAM who have joined us with Lovely Professional University for this great event. So without wasting any time, I just extend my thanks to everyone for sparing such a valuable.
I think Kirti, you can take over. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the welcome address. Now, moving forward, I would like to welcome Ms. Anita Jadhav, the Assistant Controller of Patents and Designs, Delhi Patent Office, India. She's been working as the Assistant Controller of Patents and Designs in Delhi Patent Office since 2014. She has joined the Patent Office as an examiner in 2003, and before joining the Indian Patent Office, she had worked as an assistant professor. She also successfully completed her LLB from Delhi University and has been actively involved in various training programs, workshops, seminars towards awareness of IPR and imparting outlook on different aspects of IPR. Ma'am, it's a great pleasure to have you here today. Kindly take over the session.
Thank you, Kirti. But I want to share my this presentation. Can I share that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Bhavna, just check if she has a sharing access.
So
Yes,
we
sir.
have given the rights to her.
Yeah, Anita ma'am. Ma'am, you can share your screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. I think
Ma'am,
I'd
first,
like to share screen. This link is working now. So, but how to go to that Wings presentation? It's
मैम
not.
फुल स्क्रीन पहले मत कीजिए, आप पीपीटी खोल के फिर उसको शेयर कीजिए एंड देन यू कैन गो.
I have
Yes.
shared that.
Yes,
Yeah, now we
visible.
can see it, ma'am. Now you can make it full screen as well.
Okay. Is it? Can you see the full screen now?
Right, ma'am. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Okay. So the topic that has been given to me is to discuss the basics of the patent drafting. Now, we are aware that patent drafting is a very important aspect of the patent filing. Means before patent filing, you should be aware of how to draft your specification so that you get the good patent and you didn't face any problem further in your filing and the prosecution of the application. So I will be discussing this. So patent drafting mainly means patent specification, means how to write your patent so that you get the patent in timely and without any objections from the patent office. So before discussing the patent drafting process, I will just give the overview of what the patent is. As we are aware that patent is a limited monopoly right that is given by the state. It is a legal right. But when it is given in consideration of disclosure of the invention in the description of the CS. Means if you disclose your invention completely, then only it is given. Because if we are giving you 20-year time period for your patent, then the government expect that you disclose the invention at the length in detail. So what is the reason of disclosure? You can ask, why should I disclose my invention in detail so that everything will be available, everything will be common, my invention will everyone knows that. This is important because disclosure after a 20 period of time period, your invention will go to the public, means it will become the public art. So when it will become the prior art, if you doesn't disclose your invention properly, how the person who is going to perform, who will study your specification, can he carry out that invention by reading your description? So this is an important aspect. So you have to disclose your invention in the best possible way so that after 20-year time period, when it becomes the public art, when it goes to the public, so persons skilled in the art can easily carry out this invention without any extra efforts by reading each and every aspect of the process steps of your invention. So this is the patent. We know patent is granted for a single invention and patent is granted for the full disclosure of your invention. Then only it is 20-year monopoly time period is given to the patent, to the inventor. Now to start with this, before drafting, when you have got your invention, but you doesn't know how to draft my invention. I know I have made some process of making the herbal composition. This is my invention, process of making some apparatus. But how to draft this? What content to be given in the specification? But before drafting, you have to keep in mind some important points, or you have to verify these following points. You have to conduct the search, and you have to enlist the problems in the prior art. Search means if you are your invention is related to the herbal composition, then you will conduct search whether my herbal components, like if your composition is of A plus B, you have to conduct search if these A and B are already known in the prior art. If they are already known in the prior art, that means it's your invention is not new. So you have to see that you have to conduct search in all the available databases, so that you will not face any problem from the patent office when examination process will be started. And then you have to enlist the problems in the prior art. If your invention is advanced one, so what was the problem that this herbal composition was not giving the proper result? It was treatment was not done was properly. So these were the problem. You have to enlist the problem. This is the problem. Now I have to work on this problem. So first you conduct your search of your invention, then you enlist the problem. This is the problem, and I have to carry out my invention further through these problems. So after writing out this problem, you give it the solution. This is the solution, best solution that I can give to this problem by your inventions. And then you have to find out what is the novel part in that, because the herbs A and B can be known in the prior art. So if A and B are known in the prior art, what is the novelty part in your invention? You can add if the problem is that A and B was not giving a proper treatment result, but if add the I herb, the C, into this A and B, then it becomes novel. Further, it also gives some advanced technical effects. So before drafting, you have to verify all these following. These are the checkpoints. It's not that you directly go to the drafting. You have to keep in mind these following points before drafting your application. Thoroughly, you have to search your invention in the available prior arts and list the problems. What are the problems? What is the solution I am giving? And what is the novel part in my problem? Is the solution obvious? Is the solution obvious to the person skilled in that, so that he can carry out this invention? Obvious means that A plus B is known for the treatment of X disease. And Y, if you are adding this, why you are adding to A plus B, Y is also known for the treatment of X disease, then isn't it obvious to combine A plus B plus C? So if the solution is obvious, so what is the advantage of your invention? That any person who is aware in the person's skill in that, who is dealing with these herbal components, then he can add these A plus B plus C. So you have to see that isn't it obvious, or this problem was not considered before, or problem was not thought of, and it was no one can think that we can add C to A plus B so that we can come up with this invention. So these are the important aspects you have to keep in your mind before drafting the application. You have to carry out R&D. You have to carry out the research. Proper notebook has to be maintained. These are the problems. These are the solution. And after verifying all these aspects, you have to take the decision whether I file this application in the provisional format or whether I file this in the complete format. So I will talk about this provisional or complete in the next slide. But these are the important checkpoints, I will say, that you will check before filing the application. So further, one more important aspect is that you have to keep in mind that in Indian Patent Office, everything is not patentable. What means, even if it is a good invention, that is not patentable, and that we have our section 3 in our Patent Act, which defines some inventions which are not patentable inventions. So inventions, I will give you some examples which are not patentable inventions. So before drafting, you also have to carefully see the section 3, that whether my invention is falling within the provision of section 3, because if your invention is falling within the provision of section 3, it won't be granted. You will get the objection for the section 3A, 3I, 3A. We have a section 3 starting from subsection A to P, 3A up to 3P. So what are the inventions which are not patented? Any frivolous inventions, and any invention which is against the natural laws, established natural laws, and any invention which is contrary to morality or injurious to public health or animals or to the environment, or any scientific principle or an abstract theory already, any formulation of that thing. Any new property is use of a known substance. New property means like if turmeric is already known for its therapy skin treatment properties or allergic in the allergic properties, and if you give now I am using this turmeric from some other disease like for fever problems, that is a new property, new use, that is also not patentable. So mere admixtures and processes thereof. Mere admixture means A is known for treating the fever, B is known for treating any pain problem. So if you combine this A plus B, which are already known for their properties, this is a mere addition, mere admixture of these two components, and the process of making these A plus B. So these things, mere arrangement or rearrangement of known devices, each functioning independently of one another in a known way. Means like if pen is known for its function and torch is known for that it's give light. If you combine this pen with the torch, that is the mere arrangement, or these are known devices. You have done only mere arrangement or rearrangement. So we have to think whether it's this arrangement is obvious or not obvious. Means non-obviousness should be there. Any method of agriculture or horticulture, means method of spraying the pesticides, method of sowing the seeds, method of cutting the crops, these methods which are conventional methods, they are also not patentable. Any treatment of human beings, if you claim that treatment of human beings by using this compound for the cancer treatment, so these things are also not patentable. Any diagnosis process is also not patentable. If you want to claim any plants and animal in whole, like cell, you want to claim cell of this plant, or I want to claim the neem plant and any animal or microorganism as it is, so these are also not patentable. An essential biological process like crossing of the plants, that is also essential biological process. Means these are the some of the inventions which are not patentable. So my why I'm discussing these section 3, that when you are drafting your application, then you draft the claim part in such a way that your invention doesn't come within the purview of this section 3I subsection. So this is the prior arrangements that before drafting, this is the prior arrangement. You have to check the certain things. You have to search your invention, see for the novel part, see for the inventive part, and then see whether this invention is, if it is a method of treatment, it can't be patented. Then you have to draft your invention in the form of the composition. You have to see if I can draft in the form of the composition, then it can be patented. So now you have got the overview that before drafting what I have to do. Now how the drafting starts, where to draft your application, what is an important document which helps, where you have to draft, that is we call it as patent specification. So patent specification is an important document. It's a technical legal document of the patent application, and patent specification is of two types. It's the provisional specification and the complete specification. What is provisional, what is complete, I will discuss this. So but the first thing is, because for patent filing you need different forms, form 1, form 2, form 3, form 5, another form 18 is there, power of authority, proof of right, other different forms are there. But that is the important form is in form 2. On form 2 your patent specification is filed, and description forms a part of your patent specification. What is provisional specification? Provisional specification is a document which describes the invention. It need not contain the claims. So first important thing before telling this is your complete specification contains two important portions, that is the description and the claims. So description is your description of your invention, and claims is the protection part on which you want to take the legal protection for 20 years of time period. So we have a provision in our Patent Act where you can file the PS, that is the provisional specification, as the thought of an invention, or you have carried out some research, but your research is not complete, and your data or your examples, you are not complete with that. In that case, to have the protection or to have the earlier protection, you can file the provisional specification. Then in 12 months of time period, you can carry out the full research, and you can give the test, you can test your specimen, give the data for that invention. So that is the advantage of filing the provisional specification, because in patent, The thing is that patent is granted to first come, first basis. So if two persons A and B, they are working on the same invention and they are thinking of getting the patent for that. And if A come first in the patent office and B comes after 2 days or after a month for the same invention, so A will get the priority of getting the patent and B will lose this because A will become the priority in case of the B. So the first come first basis, as you come to the patent office as quickly as possible. Whenever the invention, you have got the invention, but you want to have some some commercial, you are searching for some commercial aspect, so then you can file the provisional specification. So it is a document which describes the invention but need not contain the claims, and disclose as much as possible in your PS. The most important thing is decide the date of the application. It gives the date, and so from that date your protection of the patent will start, and it is filed on Form 2, and the statement is there, the preamble is there, the following specification describes the invention. Now PS can be amended to add new information at the time of filing the CS. So this is a provisional specification, but it doesn't have any claim portion, and claim is very important portion of your description. So the specification, this PS can be amended up within 12 months time period because C has to be filed after the 12 months time period to be completed in 12 months. So after filing provisional specification, you have to compulsory file the complete specification in 12 months time period. If you doesn't file your complete specification, it means you doesn't file any claims, then your application will be abandoned. So what is complete specification? It is filed after 12 months time period of PS. It's not necessary that you file the PS. You can file the CS directly if you have full data of your invention and everything is complete, and you have carried out the test experiments or in vitro in vivo experiments, then you can direct CS. So CS is a techno-legal document. It describes and specifically claiming the invention. It has the claims, means what is the specific portion of your invention that you want to claim, because the description contains a lot of embodiment. It's not that all the embodiments of your invention will be working and giving the good result. Means what is the enhanced technical effect, you have to give that portion in the claim. So it defines the claims. The specification thus forms a crucial part of the patent application. So patent application, if doesn't have CS or PS, then it won't be examined, and for what you will get the protection. So it's the important part, and description is the important part of this specification. And it is also filed on Form 2, and this is the statement, that is the preamble that is given at the end of the Form 2. The following specification describes the invention and ascertains the nature of the invention and the manner by which it is to be performed. So this is the statement that is given on the CS. So now either it is PS or CS, it is always filed on Form 2. It shall describe the invention, shall begin with the title, means what is the title that you will give. If your invention is herbal composition for the treatment of some malaria, then your title will be herbal composition for the treatment of malaria. Or if you are claiming some polypeptides or nucleotides, then you have to give polypeptides for the purpose of XYZ. So you have to give your title correctly, so that it can be a person who is skilled in that can understand what this invention is going to be about. So title should be sufficiently indicate the subject matter of your invention. The first page of every CS shall also give the name, address, nationality of the applicant, and end with the preamble. So this is, I'm talking about the first page of the Form 2. Form 2, it has your like bibliographic data, means name, address, nationality, and title. And if you have some drawings also, if there is some operators, then drawings may be a part of that. If you have sequence listings, if you are claiming some polynucleotides, then you have to give the sequence listings. If it is some figure, then you have to give the drawings. The drawings, they are also part of the provisional or complete specification, means the pages will be, the drawings pages will be inclusive of the complete specification pages. And its drawings is prepared in accordance with the provision of our Rule 15. And any flow sheets, diagrams are considered as drawings. if any model or sample of the invention is required, or we can ask for the sample, then you have to furnish that. Then that sample is not a part of the specification. That if some invention is, some apparatus is there and we are not able to understand how it's going to function, what is the arrangement, then we can ask for the model and sample, but it is not a part of the specification. No need to include the claims in the PS, that I have already told you. And this is the preamble of the specification. This is the difference. PS states the following specification describes the invention, and the CS says the following specification particularly describes the invention and the manner in which it is to be performed. So this is the line, that manner in which it is to be performed is a part of the CS. Now, if you have drawing, this is the format of the drawing. You have to give this drawing name of the applicant, application number, total sheets, like 5 sheets are there, sheet number, and the signature of the applicant. This is the format of the drawings. You can give as much drawing pages as are required for your invention. So the patent specification, now I will discuss the patent specification, detailed part of the patent specification. I've given you the overview, how many types of specifications are there, that is provisional and complete, and this filed on the form 2, and it has drawings are also part of this. Abstract is also part of the specification, but model or sample is not a part of the specification. So the description and claims forms the part of CS, patent specification. What is the role of the description? Description discusses the invention. And what is the role of the claims? Claims define boundary of the monopoly. Means what is the monopoly? So that no third person can trespass in your fence. That is, you have to make the fence around your invention. That this is the fence that I have. If I am using A plus B and C, that this is my fence, and if I'm making this in some particular temperature, 5 to 10 degrees C, this is the boundary. You have to clearly define the boundary of your invention. Now, what is our act in section 10(4) of our Patent Act clearly defined the specification. 10(4) says that every CS shall fully and particularly describe the invention and its operation or use and the method in which it is to be performed. Disclose the best method of performing the invention which is known to the applicant and for which he is entitled to claim the protection. So it is very important to describe your invention in the best possible way, because if you hide some steps and any person skilled in the art is not able to perform this invention and he has to carry out some extra experiments, in that case your invention is not sufficiently disclosed and it can be refused. It can be refused under section 10(4), saying that you have not disclosed your invention in a sufficient possible manner and a person skilled in the art cannot carry out this invention, and you have not supported your CS with some examples or data, because in case of biology or biotechnology and chemistry, data or examples are very much required. Because if you are making some drug and you're claiming some drug and you're not giving the data for the drug, that how it is going to interact and what result it is going to give, then your specification is insufficient. We will say insufficiently disclosed under section 10(4). So the 10(4) is very important section in our patent application, Patent Act, and you have to draft your CS as per the 10(4). So the important the parts of the CS, that is description, is first foremost point is fully and particularly describe the invention. Fully and particularly means if you are making the process to make, like you are saying process of making the cake, you can say. Now, the process of the making cake is a very conventional process. No, but you are adding some extra step in that, like conventionally in prior art, 4 steps are already known. But you are using that extra 5 steps, so it is giving the better result in the form of the softness, maybe in the form of the taste. But if you intentionally hide that 5th step and doesn't give the proper information, and you say that I am making the cake by using 4 steps and further you say 5th step, I have added this, I have added component YX, but you have not given the temperature or pH and all that in the description. And if any person want to perform and is not able to get the similar cake as defined by you in the format and the results that you have defined and the CS are not obtained, that means your invention is not sufficiently disclosed. So you have to fully and particularly describe and operation, what is the use of this and what is the method of performing. So 10.4 describes that. Best method has to be defined, and then preferred embodiments you have to give. And another important thing is that if you are using some biological material in the specification, which may not be described fully and is not available to the public, like if you are claiming some microorganism and you are doing some recombination and some changes, mutations and variation in that, or some polypeptide sequence, then if it is not available to the public, you have to submit it to the IDA under the Budapest Treaty. And that submission will be, deposition will be before the date of filing the patent application in India, and the reference can be given within the 3 months time period. Now, if you are using some microorganism and you have not submitted in the Budapest Treaty, then also your application can be refused under section 10.4. Because if biological material is not available to the public and they are not able to carry out the invention, then your invention is insufficiently disclosed. So this is a very important thing. Actually, the inventors, they miss this point. I have received many applications in which they forgot to, they submit this biological material or they submit after the date of the filing of the application. Now this gives the negative impact to their invention. The invention is very good, but if the formal requirements, that is very important requirement, if it is not fulfilled, then we can't help this. Then we have to refuse the application, because there is no petition, even though there is no petition for this also, that you have forgotten to that. Otherwise, some petition provisions are there, like if some forms, in case some forms you forget to file within the time limit, then you can petition for that, these are the reasons. But these are some compulsory requirement for which our Patent Act has not made any petition process. So you have to submit before the date of the filing or on the date of the filing, and the reference can be given within the 3 months time period. So and what have to be mentioned? Mention the name and address of the idea and the date and number of the deposit of the material, along with all the available characteristics for correctly identifying the material. So these are some important checkpoints that inventor or applicant has to keep in the mind, that I have to do all these things before filing the invention. And further, if you are using some herbs, like you are using tulsi or some giloy, aloe vera, you have to disclose the source, means from where you have procured this, what is the geographical origin of this biological material. That is the important requirement. And if you have not mentioned, then it's you can give it afterwards also, but it's better you give at the time of filing of the application. And with this source and geographical origin, one more important requirement is there, that is the NBA provision. That is, if you have used some herbs and this material, biological material, then you have to get the National Biodiversity Authority certificate, permission from the NBA, that is National Biodiversity Authority. So this is one more important requirement. So, and further your description and with the claims. Claims is on the fresh page. It's not on the continuation of the description. If the description ends at page 16, then the claim will start from the page 17. And the claim should relate to a single invention or to a group of inventions forming a single inventive concept. Single invention means if you are claiming some herbs A plus B for treating disease like malaria, and further in, this is your claim 1. Further in claim 2, you give claim C to D for the treatment of cancer. Now these two herbs are not related to each other and they are not falling in the single inventive concept. So your invention does not satisfy our section, that is 10.5 section is there, which says that it should relate, invention claim should relate to the single invention or unity of invention in all the filed inventions should be there. Like if some you are making some product or process of making that product and composition of that product, then all these will falls in single inventive concept. But if you give product A and then you give product B and then you give product C, then in that case, all these products will not fall in single inventory concept. Then claims shall be clear, succinct, and fairly based on the matter disclosed in the specification. Clear terminology should be used. It's not maybe, might be, or, and, or. These terminologies should not be there. So it should be clear. It shall accompany by an abstract which provides the technical information of the invention, and the abstract should be in 150 words. So abstract shall commence with the title and contain a summary, technical field, problem, solution, and use of the invention in about 150 words. So these are the important things which form a part of the CS. Now I will discuss in detail all these things. So the contents of the description, overview of this contents of the description, title, then we have field of the invention. This contents description starts from the second page. Like I've told you, the CS is filed on the form 2. The first page of the form 2 is the bibliographic data, like who is the applicant and what is the address and title. And then from the second page, description start. And in the description, you then again give this title. My invention relates to this. And then you say field of the invention relates to which particular field, background of the invention, prior art details, objects, statement, detailed description. That's why I've said you in the earlier that these are the checkpoints that you should check the prior art. What is the prior art existing? What is the novel part in that? Because in the description, you have to define all these things. So these are the contents. So I will discuss in detail the contents. Title. Now, if for example, your invention is related to some device, fuel injection device, or modular high density computer system, device for measuring breath control, etc. And then what will be your field? You can write, what will you write? You will write the present invention pertains to a device and a process for measuring. So the present invention pertains to a device and process for measuring breath alcohol in particular, where a pressure drop is measured across a restriction in the breath. A sample is withdrawn from the breath flow to measure the alcohol and test for proper operation. So this is the first paragraph, including the title and the field, because its field is related to the drug or some device. So you have to see what is the title, what is the field, and you have to write in this way. Second is background of the invention. What is background? Means prior art. Means if in this case, what was the apparatus that was already available for measuring the alcohol measurements in the breath? So the applicant will say that this is the prior art, US patent 6167. This is the prior art which shows a measuring device that comprises these features. So this is the prior art. In similar way, if you have some chemical drugs, if you are taking some composition, you can say that this is the prior art, that A plus B, you are taking A plus B plus C, prior art is A plus B for the similar disease, but the results are not good. It's not giving the good test in vivo or in vitro results. So, but now my invention is this. So you have to define the prior art. Because if you doesn't mention that prior art, how will we are going to know that what is the advancement and why you are doing this invention? The object of the invention. Now, in this case, object is to provide an improved device. Similar, you will say the object of my present invention is to provide the improved herbal combination or improved polynucleotides or variant nucleotides or antibodies if it is related, enhanced antibodies against this antigen, and a process for breath control measurement so that errors in function of the measurement can be recognized. So this is the objective. Background and objective. Statement. Then you have to give the statement. This objective is accomplished with this flow chamber receival of a flow of the gas, and you have to define the arrangement. Flow chamber consists of this, like that. In the case of the herbal composition, the objective is achieved with the help of these herbs, and these herbs are having this much of percentage and all these things. So this is a statement. Then detailed description you have to give with reference to the drawings, examples, if any, and embed various embodiments of the invention, like device comprising A, B, C, D, and E. Embodiment 2B can be comprising A, B, C, D, E, and F. Means you can say, I can also add F component in that so that it functions more properly. It will give the similar results. It means F is the part of the E only. So these are the different embodiments. Like in case of the composition, you can say, if I'm claiming A plus B, then another embodiment can be A plus B plus some carriers, A plus B plus some additives. These are the embodiments. And advantages, then you have to clearly mention the advantages. The advantages of this device, according to this invention, is possibility of detecting the various dysfunctions and operating states by means of single device with the indicated connection of the components. So in case of, like in device, examples are not much required. It's not that you have to mandatory give the examples. It's only the advantages and hence technical factors suffice. But in case of the chemistry and biotechnology, and supporting examples are very important, because these examples provide the in vitro results. Like if you are claiming some polynucleotides and polypeptides, then you have to give these are the examples. When you provide this in the body, then it gives this much of the result, because this is the only way to know the technical effect or the enhanced effect of your product. In case of the drugs, chemical composition, polynucleotides, antibodies, and if you are claiming the antibody, how this antibody is working. So in mechanical cases, the examples may not be that much important, but in case of chemistry, biotechnology, and microbiology and other herbal traditional knowledge, these are very important. Because if you doesn't give, because what happens that when we receive the application of individual applicants, like they have drafted on their own and they are not much means aware of what has to be given, that these examples are important part or not. So they do carry out the invention, but they doesn't provide it in the specification at first, because later stage what happens that it's become very difficult to add the advantages, because CS once given, we doesn't allow any addition. Any correction can be done, but addition of different facts cannot be done in this, because your on the date of, like today you file the application, it's your prior art, it's now the prior art. After 1 month you cannot add that I have added one more component to it, because some other person might be working on that thing. So we give protection for you what you disclose today. We doesn't give you protection for what you add to this after 1 month or 2 months. So this is the very important point that you have to keep in your mind. Disclose as much possible whatever is with you, that how this invention works, what I have added. Disclose as much as possible things in your specification, and give all the examples that I have tested this on the human beings, I have tested this on the rats, I have tested with these conditions. You always give these examples, because this is the main problem that the individual applicants or the inventors, like who are doing the inventions, the invention might be good, but they doesn't provide us, because they are not able to prove the enhanced technical effect. Mere statement is not enough, because if antibody is being claimed, the mere statement that antibody is giving the good result, it is going to join with that particular antigen, and so that is not suffice. In that case, you have to give the exemplary support. Further, we have claim part. Now, in this particular case, what will be the claim? A breath control measuring device comprising, these are the characteristic parts, comprising sensor and electrochemical sensor for detecting. So this is the way you have to define. Further, this is the abstract. In the abstract, you have to give all these important parameters of your device. And in case of the device, it is very important to give the reference numerals like 5, 2, 12, 15, because we can see along with the drawings. Now next is, what is the contents of the claims and the manner of claiming. What now description part, you are clear that what I have to give in the description. We have to give the prior art, you have to give the advantages, detailed description, examples, drawings. You have to give in the description. But the important part is the claims, which defines the boundary of your invention. Because if you doesn't provide anything in the claims, it is disclaimed. Can't say that I have given in the description, I can carry out. The commercial aspect of the invention is decided on the basis of the claims. Whatever you provide in the claims, that is can be commercialized. So what is the claim? It is a statement of technical features of the invention which is expressed in techno-legal terms. So it is technical feature. You have to define the technical features. So whenever appropriate claims, they should contain the statement of technical features which are necessary for the subject matter and characterized portion. Like if you are claiming the process of making some product, then you can say the process of making this, heating this, cooling this, and the characterized portion is this. Characterized part is that heating or doing this in this particular specific temperature, because this temperature is not always in the prior art. You can give the characterized portion, stating the novel part in this. The first claim shall define the essential novel features with some interconnections. Optional features can be given in the further claims. So we have one main claim and we have dependent claims which are dependent on the main first claim, and these dependent claims define other embodiments of this first claim. So multiple dependent claims shall refer to more than one other claims in the alternatives only. So this is the claim type, how we can draft the claim. What is the objective of the claim? I have already defined you. To define the monopoly, because it clearly defined what is the monopoly of your protection. And so the others can exactly know the boundary of your invention and they will not trespass into this. If some person is also doing the invention which is very much related to it, so he will not claim that part. He will not jump into your this boundary. He will work around this. He will add some other things into this. So this is the objective of the claim. So we have one more thing. We have divisional applications. So how to draft the divisional applications and when to file the divisional. I have talked earlier in one of my slides that claim should relate to the single invention, because if claim 1 is A plus B and claim 2 is C plus D, some other disease, and means claim 2 relates to some different invention. In that case, we will raise the objection that it is not for a single invention. Then you have to divide out your application. That divide out application is called divisional application, and divisional application will give the reference of the original. You will say divided, this application is divided out of the main application. And this divisional application shall not include the matter which is not given in the original one. We have to show the what is disclosed in the original specification. Means only the claims will be divided out, other things will be the same. Shall not include a claim for any matter claimed in the specification of other application. Means you cannot claim the same thing. If the claim 1 is there in the first main application, in the divisional, claim 2 will be there, will be distinct. You cannot again claim the claim 1 in that, because protection can be given once only. You cannot give protection and again and again. So this is the divisional application. We have one more thing, that is the patent of addition. The patent of addition means, like if you file your application and you are claiming some like herbal composition of A plus B, but later on you find that I can add C to it and giving the same results, not the same, somewhat similar results, then you can file the additional application. In that case, it will give the reference of the number of the main patent application, and it will contain a statement that the invention comprises an improvement, modification of the invention claimed in the main patent application. This statement is needed. How to draft the claims? The first claim is called independent claim. Like it is drafted a process for the preparation of cyclosporin A from this species comprising how it is prepared. And dependent claims are process as claimed in claim 1, wherein temperature you can narrow down. In the first claim, if you have given the weight temperature, like 10 to 50 degrees C. Here you can give 10 to 30 degrees C, wherein again you can narrow down the other things, or you can add some, like wherein carrier is added. Process is claimed in claim 1 and 4. Here it is multiple dependency, it is depending on 1 also. You have to write here 3. The process according to claim this. This is the way of drafting of the claims. What is the structure of the claim? The claim comprises of the 3 parts. Like if this is the claim, composition for treatment, said composition comprises herbs A and B. Then this red first portion, it is the preamble. Preamble means what is the objective of your claim. Like if apparatus is there, apparatus for this, then this is the preamble. For what? You have to specify here the apparatus for doing what. Where it said composition comprises this herb A and B. Transitional phase, this is a transitional phase. Description of how the elements cooperate, this is a transitional phase. Comprises, consisting. And after that, ABC, this is the body of the claim, where you will describe your invention fully. So we have 3 parts: preamble, transitional phase, and the body. Preamble, what is the advantage of the preamble? It identifies the category of the invention, apparatus, device, article, composition, method of the process, and it has to be consistent with the title of the invention. It may decide the object of the invention. So this is the advantage of the preamble. Examples of the preamble is: object of the invention is treating malaria, then preamble will be composition for treating malaria. Like a preamble, non-motorized land vehicles. If your object is mounting telephones, device for mounting a telephone, then it means you have to see what is the objective, then you have to draft it that way. Transitional phase can be of 2 types: comprising and consisting. Comprising is open-ended and consisting is closed. If you use the word comprise, then it expands the scope of the claim by allowing other elements can be added, but closed phase doesn't allow another elements to be added. Transitional phase example, close, if you are using consisting, chemical compound consisting of this much 50% A, B, and C. So in this case, presence of an additional component will be excluded. The percentage will add to 100%. Because you have consisting, you cannot add any further components. This is closed one. Body of the claims, it recites the different elements, the relationship of the different elements, and apparatus for holding items comprising, this is the body, 1 leg, top, config to support at least 1 leg. So this is the body of the. So relevant section 10.5, I have already told you that the patent application relates to single application. If we will examine that whether it is comprises single invention or 2 or more invention. So if it comprises of 2 or more invention, we will raise unity of invention objection under section 10.5, and the application has to divide the application. For example, claim 1, compound A. Claim 2 is insecticide composition comprising compound A and a carrier. Unity exists between these two because the technical feature is in both this is A. Now I will discuss the clarity issues in the claims, like whenever some inventors or individual applicants file the claims, these are the clarity issue that we see. So how to overcome this and how to draft. Like if the claim is composition comprising effective amount of extract of punica, acacia, terminalia, umbilica, pharmaceutically acceptable natural excipients. Now here, what is the problem? Now this effective amount is not clear. Effective amount can be anything. It can start, it can be 0, 1, 2, it can be up to 100%. So you have to define the effective amount. How much amount of A punica is used, how much amount of acacia is used. So it is not clear. This invention is not clear. Scope is not clear and the boundary of the invention is not clear. So whether how much percentage you will take and will it give the effect what they are claiming for. This is the second example. A structure comprising a semiconductor substrate made of silicon. Said structure further characterized by comprising a near amorphous film comprising zirconium or dioxide. Now here, what is the clarity issue? It is the near amorphous. It is a vague word. You have to clearly define what does it mean. Second, diesel engine comprising an engine block and a cylinder head made up of aluminium titanium alloy having a melting point of this and this. So what is the clarity issue in that? It's not clear which one is made of aluminium. Block is made up of or cylinder head is made up of. So it is, the claim is not clear. So we will raise the objection that claim is not clear with respect to the technical features of these two head. Another example, a digital photo camera comprising a VLS1 processing unit and a sensor. Now characterizing that it is adapted to operate at temperature down to 2000. So what is the result or advantage of the feature? So what it is claiming? It is a camera. So what it should define? Camera should define the technical parts. That camera has this function, this part, this some technical features should be given. But here, what it is given? Characterizing that it is adapted to operate at temperature down to this. So this is the functional feature. This is the advantageous feature. This claim doesn't define the structural feature of the camera. Reference numerals are not given. Then this is the claim system, mobile telephone system comprising a plurality of base stations, plurality of mobile station and a control unit. Characterizing that power on the control unit register each mobile station at a respective base station and assigns to each mobile station a frequency channel. Now this is the operator's claim. What is the preamble? System. But what has it been characterized? It is characterized by the method. The system should be characterized by its technical features, by its structural features. But this has not been done in this. So the claim is not clear. Now next, the description states that the problem underlying the invention consists in providing a winter tire with an improved grip. This is the problem, and the grip is improved. This is the solution by an R-shaped profile when it is impressed into a rubber mixture including 55% of substance S. Now what is claim? Claim is winter tire made up of rubber mixture that includes 55% of the substance S. Now invention, this claim is inconsistent with the description, as the R-shaped profile, which is an important aspect of the invention, is omitted. Claim doesn't say R-shaped profile. It only says rubber mixture includes this and this. So it's not consistent. We'll say it's not consistent with the description because the claim should derive from the description. You cannot add or omit the important features into it. Now description here says that PLL circuit using transistors, PLL circuit using vacuum tube, digital two-stage PLL circuit using microprocessor. Now claim is PLL circuit employing a semiconductor device characterized in that. Now it is claiming comprising a semiconductor device, but here description doesn't give any example of this thing. So it is not clear with respect to the technical features. It's not supported. We say that it is not supported by the description, as semiconductor device is not described here. So claims should derive from the description. It's not that you are giving that things which you have not defined in the description. That is the importance of the description. Now cylinder head for racing engine, characterizing that it is fixed to the engine block by heat resistant glue. What is claimed is not clear whether it is cylinder head or block of the engine. So it is a very vague statement. Clarity issues again, a product characterized by containing component D, E, and F. Claim 2 is product characterized D, F, G, T, E, G, D, E, F, G. Now inventive feature is not clear. It is not possible that each claim may relate to different invention with different inventive concepts. Now here it is different composition, product, it's all the components are different. So different components means lacking unity of invention. So what is the inventive feature is not clear in this type of the cases. Description, this is the description that has been defined by the inventor. A compound obtained by reacting a mixture of M and B for at least 10 minutes. He's saying 10 minutes at 100 degrees. It is important that the components are reacted for this minimum amount. This reference is given of time, otherwise the reaction will be incomplete. But what he is claiming? He is claiming a process for the production of compound C characterized by reacting a mixture of N and B for 5 to 15 minutes. Here description is saying for at least 10 minutes, and this is very important time period. Here it is saying something else. So inconsistency is there. You should claim whatever you have mentioned in the description. This is your technical feature. So you are not giving that technical feature. Instead, you are giving some different time period. Household cleaning composition which comprising a surfactant, a builder, or optionally a solvent or bleach system and finally dispersed particle characterized in that. Now here scope is not clear. Why? And or optionally and or means it's not clear whether this composition will comprise this builder or solvent or bleach system or not. So it's a vague statement. So it has to be clear, and the composition should also define the ratio. Percentage ratio should also be there. So it's not a clear claim. So we will raise the objections accordingly that your claim is not clear, not consistent, not supported by the description. One more example, tape recorder comprising a measuring unit and a processing unit characterized in that. First step, now is giving the steps, but here it is a apparatus. So what we require? We require the functional, we doesn't require functional features, it requires technical structure. What is the structure of this? But the applicant has not claimed in the structure. He's claiming, giving some other thing. So if you are claiming some product, you should define the product with the help of its technical features. But if you are defining the product, but how the method has been produced, this will not be consistent. But in case you are claiming the process of making the product, then you can give the steps. So difference exists between the preamble part. What is your preamble? So this is the example that I am giving of the product claim, how the product claim looks like a claim compound of the formula. This you have to give, and you have to define all these parameters like A is fused to this, what is X here, what is N, what are R1 and R2. You have to define in this way. This is the proper way to define. And you are claiming the process for preparing ester of this of formula 1. Formula 1 has been given, reacting this of formula 3. Formula 3 is given with formula 4. So this is the proper format of giving this process and the product. So if you doesn't define the process product in the proper format, we will not be able to give you the protection. We will raise the objection that you have to amend the claims, and you amend the claims in such a way that you give those parameters which you have never defined in your description, and you say that it will give the good result. Even though it is good result, you have not disclosed in your description at the first instance, you will not add to this. That's why addition of extra parts in the claims and the description is not allowed at a later stage if you have not defined at the time of the filing. So it is very important to define an invention at length, whatever you want to give at the first instance. This is the composition example. Composition which comprises this as a salt thereof and a steroid. Composition is suitable for nasal or ocular administration. Composition which is an aqueous suspension or solution. What is the form of the composition? Composition according to claim 1 and 2, which is in the form of aerosol, an ointment, eye drops, or an inhalation solution. Composition which is in the form of inhalation. These are the different preferred embodiments. This composition can work in these different forms. So you can give this in the dependent claim. This is your main claim. You have to give all the features in the main claim. Composition where the steroid is. Now you can define the steroid. You can define this your azolestin. You can define your ester. You can, in this way you have to claim. So first claim is the main claim. You have to give all the important technical features. In the subsequent claim, that is the dependent claims, you have to give the preferred embodiments. And if you are claiming the pharmaceutical composition here, you can claim process of making the pharmaceutical composition. So and if you are claiming vaccine vaccine, then you can claim the process of making the vaccine or vaccine formulation along with adjuvants or some other carriers. If you are claiming antibody, process of the making and the antibody and the antigen against that antibody and vaccine, you can claim that. So unity has to be seen, means the claim should be unified. It's not that you are claiming like antibody for disease against the antigen X, then you are claiming antibody against the antigen Y. So these are different inventions. If you are claiming the primers, like primers 8XYZ, and in the second claim you are claiming altogether different primers for different purpose, so these all will be different claims. So unity of invention will be there, has to be there, because the patent is granted for a single application. If you have different inventions, then you have to divide your application. We will raise the objection that your invention relates to distinct invention. In that case, you have to file the divisional application, and that divisional application will have distinct claims, but description will remain same. So that is an important thing. So example should always be there in your description, and drawings has to be there. Nucleic, if you are claiming some nucleotides, the nucleic acid sequence listing has to be given, and the fees for the sequence listing has to be provided accordingly. If you are claiming some herbal composition herbs, then you have to give the biological resource of that, and you have to mention in this form 2 and form 1 also. You have to mention, you have to give the source, and further you have to go to the NBA. So that's this is all about the drafting of the complete specification, and you have to keep all these important points in your mind before drafting and coming to the patent office for your invention, so that if you miss something, it will be missed. We will not allow even with the form 13, because what is allowed amendments, what amendments are allowed, some correction is allowed, and some statements, means addition can't be allowed, only correction. Addition is never allowed. So this is all I want to tell about the drafting of the application. So thank you all for your attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a great presentation about letting us know about the nuances of drafting of a patent. Moving forward, now I would like to welcome Mr. Vijay Kumar Shivpuje, sir, Director, Patlix Business Solutions, and the IPR lead at IPFC Assocham. He is a mentor of change with the Government of India's Niti Aayog Atal Tinkering Labs as well. With an M Pharmacy and a law degree, he is registered patent agent at the Indian Patent Office and has about 16 plus years of experience in pharma corporates, law firms, consultancies, and has conducted over 100 IPR awareness programs at various universities, colleges, bar associations, incubation centers, industries, chambers, and MSMEs. Sir, over to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kirti, for the introduction, and a very one. I have to cover a topic about herbal patenting today. We have because since we are speaking at a pharmacy college and a lot of inventions are coming from herbal side, so like thought to speak on herbal patenting specifically. What are those challenges and all? But before I move on to my session, I must thank Anita ma'am for taking that elaborate a discussion about filing as well as drafting and the kind of the requirements at patent office specifically. Ma'am, it was really good to hear, because all these problems we face routinely, and especially when we deal with the applicants, and specifically from the universities or institutions. At times it becomes really difficult to convince them as well, but then when they hear from you, I think it would have more visibility, as well as it would make our job very easy as such, so thank you so much, Anita ma'am, for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you,
And
sir.
yeah, so I'm going to discuss on herbal patenting. I've been involved into patent filing, or rather drafting, since long, and I had this opportunity to get some of these herbal patents as well getting granted, because there are a lot of misconceptions basically about the herbal patenting. Uh, reason being that we have certain specific sections or subsections which are misconstrued, or I would say which are misinterpreted, and there is a lot of clarity that needs to be put in for herbal patenting, because as a country, especially in the medicine domain, or I would say India as a country, we have got a lot of opportunities in herbal and nutraceuticals. And if we just compare it to last 2 years, the way the significance of immunity has been increased, or our focus to back to basics has been increased. There have been a lot of inventions from herbal or nutraceutical side that are being filed as such at the Indian Patent Office. And in fact, we are getting a lot of inquiries, not only from the academic lands, even from the corporates for herbal or nutraceutical kind of invention. Just before I move on, just a quick check. Kirti, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bhavna, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so most of the part has been covered by Anita ma'am already, but then I wanted to take it from a perspective of a agent, patent agent, basically, when we deal with when we deal with the inventors, applicants, the researchers, master students, and that point of time. We get a lot of inquiries, a lot of queries basically, and what I have tried to do is, before going for herbal patenting, I have tried to include those queries in a simple question answer format, and I'm pretty confident this would be something which would be really useful for everyone. One of the major questions that has been asked by all the applicants is, what is that right time to file a patent application? When should I file a patent application? Is it at the time, the moment I have my hypothesis ready? Or is it at the time, do I need to wait for my results to be in my hands before I file the patent application? This is a very common query asked by the students or the faculties, even researchers for that sake. The simple answer to this is, since ma'am also covered in her session, we have got a first to file system. The one who files first would be getting that patent. So it is very essential, the moment you feel that there is some potential, that point of time, be it at the hypothesis stage, you have not worked in the lab, you can still go for the so-called provisional patent application, and that would give you that edge over others for first to file. For example, there are two inventors or two separate researchers working on the same project. One of them, one of them is files the application first before conducting the experiments, and the second one waits for the results and then goes for filing. Then in that case, still the first one would have that advantage, what we generally call as a first mover advantage as far as patent filing is concerned. So it's always preferred, based on your assumptions, based on your hypothesis, you should go for patent filing at that point of time. One of the important things about, I mean, the very first question I ask my clients generally, that what is it that you are expecting? Why do you want to file a patent application? This is very crucial. Reason being, we feel like once we file an application, we are in a process. We can launch that product as well. That's not the case actually, especially for the medicinal products or even herbal products or nutraceutical products. Patenting is a separate thing compared to launch or commercialization. When you file a patent application, you block others. So that's why they are generally called also as a negative rights. But for it, so to be honest, in simple terms, if you discover a new drug, you can patent it for sure. Of course, if it satisfies all those criteria that Anita ma'am mentioned, all those criteria, if it's satisfied, it can for sure get granted. But if you get a patent granted, still you cannot commercialize that product. The simple reason for that is the product needs to undergo the clinical trials, the preclinical clinical trials. So to be honest, patent filing is something which is not mandatory to commercialize your product. But the FDA route, I mean the DCGI route or the US FDA route, conducting the clinical trials and all, that is something which is mandatory. But remember that if you file the patent application, only you or your licensee can do that. If you have a patent, no one else except your permission can actually do that, right? So why should you file a patent application? When you feel there is a commercial potential, whether you have that financial capability to launch the product or not, that is a different thing. But if you foresee some commercial potential, then in that case you should go for patent filing. This is what we tell the corporates or the startups or MSMEs basically. But to be honest, as an academician, let me be a bit blunt, but then all these patent filings have been helping all the academic institutions for the accreditation purpose, as well as their rankings, NIRF rankings, all your NBA or I would say NAC kind of accreditation. It also helps the individuals to boost their CV or profile actually, which would be really good, I would say. Because if you have a patent file for your master's thesis or maybe undergrad project, that might for sure help you in terms of getting your first job as well. And there have been a lot of instances wherein the clients or the students, specifically the master students, are getting benefited because they have a patent application in their name before they are actually recruited. Now, what data do I need to file patent application? I think this was very elaboratively discussed in the previous session per se, but let me just add I would say only one statement here. To file a provisional patent application, you don't need any data. It can be a hypothetical application, or you can include what we also call as a prophetic examples, which are hypothetical examples at the time of provisional. At the time of complete, for sure, you would need all this data. Again, there is no standard format for the kind of data that is required. It would depend on various aspects, like what are you claiming? So for example, if you are claiming a composition, in that case, you may require data. Data can also be related to the characterization of that particular product or manufacturing process related to that product. But if you are claiming a composition or a product and the use of it is already known, let's say, as in for the individuals. So let me tell you an example. Metformin is now used for diabetes. And what you do is you come up with a innovative novel drug delivery system product of metformin. In that case, the clinical data for that product may not help you fetch the that may not be something which may be mandatory for a composition patent, because that drug as such is already known for the treatment of diabetes. But then when you have a new drug per se, for which the activity is not at all known, for sure that point of time you would need the data related to the preclinical or clinical studies as well. So the data would generally depend on what you are claiming, right? Now, another question that is generally asked in these forums is, shall I take the help of a patent agent for filing? So just again referring back to earlier presentation, actually Anita ma'am made my presentation a bit easier, I would say, because she used that specific term, techno-legal. Patent is a techno-legal document. It's just not a technical document. it's a techno legal document, and you as a scientist are always a technology expert. And when we think of a patent agent specifically, patent agents can understand the legal aspect because they have been qualified the patent agent exam basically. So the legal aspect of that, and remember that a techno legal document like patent, so the drafting of a patent would be different from drafting of a research paper. Research paper is a completely technical document, and in most of the cases, those who file their application on their own, these are some of the mistakes they do because you are referring to some document, you actually draft it like a research paper. That is not something, because what you are, see, in case of research paper the intent is to publish it, and in case of patent the intent is to get the legal rights properly, what ma'am mentioned in her presentation, the boundary of the invention. So you you need to take a help of patent agent for filing, but again with a disclaimer that it is not mandatory. Patent office, Indian Patent Office allows you to file your patent application without the help of a patent agent as well. So the techno legal document is one reason why you should actually go for with the help of a patent agent. Can I publish my research before or after patent filing? uh, Before patent filing, you cannot or you should not publish your research. One of the most common mistakes done by inventors is that you publish it as a research paper and then you file a patent application. The best way to do it, you file a patent application today and you publish it tomorrow. That's absolutely fine. You file a patent application today and publish it tomorrow is absolutely fine. You don't need to wait for the publication of a patent application, which generally happens, let's say, after 18 months. Now, the next question is, can I commercialize my invention after patent filing? Now, commercialization, as I said, has nothing to do with patent filing per se, but you cannot commercialize the invention before patent filing. After patent filing, that can be actually done. Now, how much is the cost for patent filing? I just want to inform everyone here that recently, 3 months back, the patent office has actually reduced the fees for academic institutions patent filings. That is at par now with the individuals, which was like, so there is a 80% fees reduction, which is a huge number basically for, but this is all the fees, that is official fees. Of course, the agents who are charging based on their expertise. Now, I get a lot of inquiries, a lot of queries as well, and which are at times really funny. Can I file my patent application without telling my institution? Yes, this had happened with me. One of the students called me actually, and she called me and she said, "Sir, I want to file a patent." I said, "Fine, let's sign a CDA, share your document, and then we can file based on the patentability of that particular invention." Then she said, "Sir, but I have a condition." I said, "What is that condition?" She was like, "Sir, I don't want to include my guide's name in my patent application." I was a bit surprised what kind of requirement this is. You don't want to include your guide's name in your patent application. So she, of course, she had her own reasons, and but then why I'm telling you all this particular story is, if your institution doesn't have an IPR policy in place, your institute cannot stop the students or your ex-employees from filing patent application on their own. The reason being, there is a way to legally stop it later, both at the patent office as well as at the court as well. But it is always better to avoid these kind of situations And for sure, what we require is something called IPR policy within the academic institution framework that would help streamline the processes of patent filing to, I would say, the enforcement, everything related to that, basically. Not only for the students, the pass out students, your ex-employees, they have worked on some invention in your university or your institute, and later on taking that invention to the newer university. Maybe they are the inventors, but the legal rights may be with the institution, and that those rights are getting transferred from your university to some other university then, right? Now, इंडिया में हर चीज होती है, and this also happens at times. One lab, 10 researchers, maybe one or two lab systems only, computers only, you're sharing the computers, and to be honest, what happens in that case is someone else also has access to your data. He files a patent application in his name. How are you going to come to know unless and until it is published? And normal publication happens for a patent after 18 months. After 18 months, you realize someone else has filed patent application of your invention. As I said, there is a way to tackle it under the Indian patent system as such, but always prefer to avoid this. And my request to the faculties as well, as well as to the institute, have an IPR policy in place which would ensure that we are not getting actually trapped in these kind of problems. That is first thing. Secondly, for the students, actually, I have a request to don't get indulged into these kind of I would say activities, not only for students but everyone. I mean, it's a human nature, basically. At times these things happen because it may have I would say a long-term repercussions on your career as well. But to be honest, there is no way, no check basically at I would say at a patent office end, basically, because patent office would never ask, where have you carried out this invention? So we recently had a patent granted for one of the inventions which was carried out at home. That's absolutely fine. It's an invention in nutraceuticals, right? So this is something which we need to avoid basically at our institution level. Now, when does a patent application get published? So that was all about basics about patenting. But then how does that journey of patent filing to grant, and what are those different activities, and what is the significance of each of them, that we'll try to understand here. So when does the application get published? Normally, it gets published within 18 months. And nowadays, we also have got early publication, wherein the application gets published within 1 month. Even we had a case wherein the application got published in 3 days time. Tuesday we filed, and on Friday actually it got published as such. That particular application got published as such. Now, next one is publication of application. Does it assure you the grant of a patent? No, not at all. Publication is a separate thing compared to the grant of the patent. What is the cost after patent filing till grant? The cost varies. Patent office cost is fixed basically, but the cost after filing till grant for a agent would vary based on their expertise and their technical domain knowledge. But what is always recommended, I have just one suggestion here, and is, so the patent agent who is working, he or she should be in a position to understand your invention first, because so patent drafting, to be honest, is like putting your science in a legal manner, in an artistic way. If you understand the science, if you understand the liposomal technology, if you understand what does it mean by a bilayer tablet, if if you understand what does it mean, what is the difference between a delayed release and a sustained release dosage form, then only we would be in a position to get like uh, that patent drafted properly. So ensure that the agent understands your technology first. That is more important. I, as a pharmacist, may not be in a position to understand the invention from electronics or telecommunication domain, right? So I may not be in a position to draft it, although I'm a patent agent. Okay. Now, can I commercialize the invention after grant? So commercialization after filing of a patent, you can definitely commercialize the invention, but not before that. Now, one of the most, I would say, common questions, even in yesterday's news as such, when I heard there was a specific, I would say, mention about Funsuk Wangdu, if you remember the movie Three Idiots. In that movie, we had this character called Funsuk Wangdu, who had a lot of patents, and Chatur Ramlingam comes down to get those patents licensed, or he's willing to give some money, and in return he would give the patent license piece. Remember that if you get a patent granted, no one is going to come to you and give you a lot of money. That is for sure. What is important here is that it's not the patent that gets commercialized, it's the product. Remember, it's the product that gets commercialized, and that product is protected by a patent. So if your product has a value for commercialization, then only your patent has a value. If you have got a product which cannot be commercialized and you have got a patent granted, let's say, for it, it won't have any value basically. No one is going to sign a check worth 10 lakhs or 75 lakhs, what we see Shark Tank in India nowadays. Like, no one is going to do that for you unless and until your product has a value. So the request herein for all the researchers is focus more on the commercial aspects of the invention while selecting even your thesis, if you really want to go through the patenting route. So while preparing for the thesis, or while you're preparing, I would say, for your master's or PhD degree, that point of time, ensure that the thesis topic that you are selecting would be something which would have the commercial value as such, and then only you may get some money out of it. I would skip this question, design and patent, because they are different types of IPs. Now, these things have already been covered, but then let me move on to now the next part, which is herbal patenting. Now, when we think of herbal patenting, why I'm speaking about herbal patenting specifically, because 3 departments from pharmacy, pharmacology, pharmacognosy, even Ceutics, are involved into herbal patenting or herbal kind of research. Cognosy, definitely they are involved into extraction and the activity kind of thing for the ecology. And the formulation people are involved into development of formulations for those herbs basically. Now, important herein is 3 subsections: section 3E, 3I, and 3P, which are problematic for herbal inventions. Mere admixture, because when we think of herbs, these are always many a times these are combinations, like polyherbs, that's what we call it as. Yeah, 2 plus herbs basically, right? Combinations are not patentable under section 3E, but then if you show synergistic effect, then they are patentable. So if you are just claiming a combination, ensure that it has a synergistic effect, then only it would get patentable. Another thing is method of treatment, what we typically do in drug repurposing, what we typically do in pharmacology. What we try to identify is get an old drug, get a new indication or new use for that, second medical use for that, right? Now, in that case, that is also something which is not patentable under Indian Patent Act, section 3I. So it is very important how you frame or draft your claim. If you put method of treating, then it may not get granted for sure. And section 3P, which is for traditional knowledge. Traditional knowledge, like for example, we have seen it a lot of times, haldi or any kind of herb not getting patented per se. Now, that's what our concepts are. But let me tell you how it actually practically works. Haldi as a herb cannot be patented. Haldi's use for wound healing cannot be patented. Haldi in combination with, let's say, something else cannot be patented. But what is patentable? In case of haldi, so haldi has a staining effect. If you come up with a product, finished dosage form, which can remove that staining effect, in that case, it can be patentable for sure. If you combine two herbs and they show synergy, they are patentable. Method of treatment per se is not patentable, but we can include that use a bit smartly. How I'll include in all these examples basically. Now look at the way, so these are some of the examples wherein Indian Patent Office has actually granted the patents in herb. Now look at this particular patent. We have got IN 317619 number as well. Herein, a topical herbal formulation for the treatment of arthritis. Now, this has overcome section 3I, which is for method of treatment, right? This formulation for the treatment of arthritis. If I claim just a method of treating arthritis by using herbal composition, it's not patentable. But the moment I put topical formulation for the treatment of arthritis, comprising A, B, C, D, E, then it is patentable. Look at the claims again. This again is the oil composition. That's why it is granted. The moment I put a composition for topical application, it got granted, although it had, it's not a combination. It's not A plus B. It's a composition, which is the oil for the topical application. That's why it got granted. And of course, it also has that percentage limited. If I put simply A plus B, then it cannot get granted. Quantities. Look at a herbal biscuit product now here, wherein we have what does it contain basically? It contains maize, wheat, soybean, and dalia. Uska ek biscuit banaya hai. And many a times we know that maize is there in the biscuit, wheat is there in the biscuit. Some of these ingredients are already there in the biscuit. So what's new in that? The quantities, the specific quantities mentioned ensure that the patent gets granted. Weight ratio, herbal cola drink. Look at the weight ratio, 10 is to 1.5 is to 1.5 is to 1.5 is to 1.5 is to 0.75. That ensures that the patent gets granted. Next, excipients. Your product is a herb, but then you are using it in a modern dosage form like tablet, herbal anthelmintic formulation in tablet form. You are using carbapol, MCC, DCP, PEG, sodium benzoate, and you have got a patent granted actually. Making converting that herb into modern dosage form definitely is going to give you a patent for sure. Process, I think this has been discussed in detail. Process for preparation of a composition. Now soap, a dosage form. Now another, now this is a herbal soap formulation. Again, another dosage form which got granted basically. So these are granted patent numbers from the Indian Patent Office. Processing in composition. Look at this claim now. A stable synergistic herbal composition for the treatment of tuberculosis, wherein the composition is stabilized by enteric coating of serratiopeptidase. What you have done is a processing limitation in a composition, and that got it granted. So these are various examples basically under which your invention gets granted in case of herbal products as well. It has overcome 3 big steps: the combinations, synergy, the method of treatment under 3I, putting it in a different format, and traditional knowledge, making it into a dosage form basically. I'm almost done with my session. I like to conclude with some significant requirements by the patent office, basically, as far as the herbal patenting is concerned. And fortunately, these things were covered in the earlier presentation as well. So Natural Biodiversity Act, NBA, what we call as, is a central government agency, and under section 6 of that act, if you are claiming anything which is with respect to the traditional knowledge or anything which is coming from the natural origin, in that case you need to get a permission from the NBA, National Biodiversity Authority. Now what do you mean by this permission? Basically, when we say permission, is it mere permission? No, it's not a mere permission. Basically, now what we do herein is, if you have a herbal invention, let us say in this case, what we are doing is we are using these herbs from the natural origin. And who owns the sources, natural resources, basically? Because patent is creating a monopoly rights. And who owns the resources, natural resources? We are not the owner. The owner for these natural resources is the country per se. And under National Natural Biodiversity Authority, the what you do basically, you get a permission from NBA, and this permission is in the form of an agreement. This agreement would ensure that, for example, if you are commercializing a herbal product which is patented, then part of the revenue you have to share with NBA. Part of the revenue you have to share with National Biodiversity Authority. This may be anywhere between 1 to 4, 5, 6% of your revenue. This is important. It's just not mere administrative. See, first thing is, NBA would never reject your application. They would just sign an agreement with you that आप जब इस herbal product को commercialize करोगे, that point of time you would share the revenue with National Biodiversity Authority, that is NBA. That is the most important thing about the, I would say, the herbal patenting as such. Because when you are claiming, the country is giving you monopoly for using the natural resources. In that case, part of the revenue has to be shared with NBA. Okay, so that's the conclusion, basically, as far as the herbal patenting and NBA is concerned. So I'm done with my presentation. The intent of this was to just let you know few things about herbal patenting. Herbal products can definitely be patented, as well as you also need to understand that, we need to ensure that we seek the permission from NBA before the patent gets granted. But then for herbal patenting, for sure, you need I would say, a kind of a smart patent drafting. Without that, if you try to claim the product, then it becomes a bit difficult, actually. That's it. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating, and I would be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful presentation. I see that there are two questions which have already been answered, but if you can reiterate, it would be great. The question says, is patent application done individually or can be done in a group?
Oh, okay. I think that's so it can be done in groups as well. So the highest I remember that we filed a patent had 12 inventors, 12 different people, basically. You can also have 2 or 3 collaborators as well. See, when you say this, it is important to know that it's not the institute or university who decides who are the inventors. You are not the right person. It's a legal matter, basically. So generally what we say, those who are contributing to the idea of that invention and those who have implemented the idea, knowing what they are doing, they are the ones who are the inventors. And for to answer your question, yes, you can do it in groups as well as individually. मतलब single inventor भी हो सकता है. You can have multiple inventors as well.
Thank you, sir. Also, the same person has asked another question. Who can write a patent?
That's pretty interesting because that's what I said. That the invention can be drafted. I mean, I need to understand the invention first. So to be honest, lawyers are not allowed to be patent agents. Patent agent is a concept at patent office, which is for the technical people. When I say technical people, a pharmacist, an engineer, a science graduate, even arts and commerce graduates are not allowed. Science graduate or equivalent, engineering, pharmacy, medical, whatever scientific. Uh, if you are a graduate, then you can appear for patent agent examination, and then you can draft as well as file. Basically, writing requires a lot of skill as well as, I would say, a lot of practice as well, what we call typically as a patent drafting. And for those who are interested, I think this is coming from Aminata. Aminata, currently, Patent Office has opened the applications for patent agent examination. What you can do is, if you are or any one of you is interested, can definitely get in touch with me. I'm just putting my number in the chat box. To know more, 27th tak these applications are open for patent agent examination. So patent agent is someone, just like Medical Council of India allows the medical practice, or Bar Council allows the law practice, Patent Office, Government of India conducts this exam, and they allow the patent agents to practice basically in front of Patent Office. So an expert in the domain, when I said I cannot understand an invention from electronics and telecommunication, I can draft it. I can understand the pharma life sciences invention, I can draft it. So writing a patent is generally done by patent agents. Of course, with practice, many lawyers are also involved into drafting. But then again, the most significant part here in is you need to understand the technology first. Yes. Yes, Kit.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that's all we have in the chat box. I request all the participants to kindly type their questions, if any, before winding up, so that Vijay sir can take them. I think we can wait for a minute or so that the audience can type their questions before winding up.
Yes, and also those who are interested to know the basics of IP rights, different types of IP. Of course, we spoke more about patents today. What they can do is they can go through the website l2proindia.com. It's a free content developed by corporates as well as the law firms. Yes, I think Kirti has shared it in the chat box again, as well as the certification is by Government of India. It's a free course basically for any one of you who is interested in that. That would definitely help you understand the IPs, as well as it would ensure that you get a certificate as well. It's a e-learning program basically. So I think that's it, Kirti. We can conclude this quick Q&A session. Thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
everyone.
sir. Thank you so much, sir, for answering. Now I would like to invite Ms. Sakshi Sharma for the vote of thanks. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Please, thank you so much, ma'am. So on behalf of School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Lovely Professional University, I would extend my great thanks to Miss Anita and Mr. Vijay Kumar. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and sharing your experiences and knowledge with us. I really thank you. Thank you so much, all the attendees as well as the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a great privilege to be associated with Lovely Professional University, and I really hope we session was very much informative and worth it. So thank you so much, Vijay sir, Ms. Anita ma'am, and all the panelists, all the faculty members, all the students. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.